Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Ball Caps and Bagpipes, a Scottish baseball podcast. I'm former Glasgow Comets outfielder John McKellar.
And I'm Jason Durr, former manager of the Edinburgh Cannons and Baseball Scotland Hall of
The
Famer.
Cannons are the club that we've decided to focus on this particular episode. Jason, your former teammates, a couple of guys who I'd assume you know pretty well, are going to be on the show.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I've known Ruari for almost the 16 years I've been in Scotland here, so he's been with us for almost day one. And Ren joined a few years ago, and he's quite a promising player. He's working out on the under-23 Great Britain squad, so I don't think he's quite made the team yet, but we'll ask him about it.
Indeed, and I'll look forward to this chat. Ren and Ruari, a couple of guys I've played against quite a few times. As you say, they've both been kind of around for a while. I think I've played them many times, actually. Don't really know them, so it's going to be interesting to get their insights on this past season for the Cannons. Before we get into the meat of the show today, we've missed two pretty huge events in baseball, one in Scotland and obviously one in the major leagues. Let's quickly recap those. Before we do, though, apologies to everyone listening for the lengthy delay between episodes. I was away to Poland, and then I've been on kind of funny shifts, and I've just had a really busy schedule and stuff like that. So it's been a while since we've managed to get an episode out, but we'll try and make it a bit more regular as the off-season progresses. The Caledonia Classic then, I had predicted shock for the Express winning. That wasn't the case. The Galaxy became the first club in Scottish National League history, I believe, to win a cup and league double.
Well, it's only been going for 2 years, but yes, that absolutely qualifies as the first time it's ever been done.
Yeah, what a season those guys had.
I think you were trying to use a little reverse psychology there. I think you were secretly pulling for them to win.
So there was another pretty major thing happened in baseball, in the world of baseball. The World Series. What a World Series that was!
It was a good one. I unfortunately, I think I caught about 4 innings of that because of the time zone difference. So, I did stay up till 2:00 in the morning on Game 7. I got to the 6th inning, and I thought the Astros had it in their hand, and I went to bed.
Oh dear, you missed quite an ending then. Obviously, the Washington Nationals, World Series champions in 7 games. I honestly thought, after the Astros pulled it back from the 2-0 deficit, that they were just gonna crush them, and it was looking, for all intents and purposes, like that was going to happen right up until the 11th hour.
I was hoping they were going to win it because I have some people from Montreal and I have some friends that were Expos fans, and it was bittersweet for them. But I think they were okay if they could still an Expos team in the Nationals. So
the Montreal Expos are the world champions.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
it's a great story.
So I can understand, like, I mean, the reference basketball. I mean, I'm a Seattle Sonics fan, you know, and I hate to see Oklahoma City do well. So I'm begrudgingly, if they won, I don't think I'd be happy. But it seemed the Expo fans I know, they were pretty happy that at least their team origins go there. So
yeah, what a season of baseball it was. It was a season of ups and downs. And controversies with the umpires, with the baseballs, with the kind of modern philosophy of baseball kind of came under fire as well. The sort of any out is the same as like any other, like a strikeout is just a single out, whereas it's not a double play. That whole philosophy seems to be getting more and more attention. Quite very quickly, before we get into our guests, how do you feel about that philosophy, Jason?
You know, I hate to sound like a grumpy old man, but the 3 true outcome, I don't find it that exciting. You know, I'm definitely put the ball in play, move runners over, try to get a couple runs here, and I get it. Like I said, analytics. You know, they've improved the sport. You know, shifting. I find it. I struggle to watch a baseball game now, and that hurts, man. I like watching baseball.
I'm completely in agreement with you. Actually, I particularly don't like the shift. I'm very much in favour of. I think that it has been bandied around that there should be kind of particular areas of the diamond that each infielder should be able to operate in and not allowed to cross over from. And I think that should definitely be implemented, because the shift, I think, the shift coupled with the kind of hitting mentality of home run or nothing, it just ends in like a hard ground ball to the same infielder so often, or a strikeout. And it's kind of choking the game. It's choking the life out of the game completely, I think.
Interesting story. I went out with Big John Nelson, and he had a buddy who played baseball at Crichton, and I was chatting with him and his dad. And apparently his grandfather played minor league baseball, and he was tearing it up one season. And this would have been probably in the 40s. And what happened is he was a pull hitter, and they shifted on him, and he was leading the league in average, and they hit 200 the rest of the year, and it killed it because they shifted on him. So the shift's been around. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's not. I mean, of course, now there's always been player positioning and batting there. Now it's just gone to the extreme. But I thought it was interesting that he said that even back in the 40s in minor league baseball, they were shifting then.
Yeah, so. I mean, you get some situations where like you'll have the second baseman and the shortstop towards kind of the left side of the second base bag, and the first baseman will be playing in left centre field. If it's a righty, it's just crazy. It's absolutely bonkers at this point.
It's here to stay. You got to accept it. It's just part of the game.
You're probably right, and it's going to probably get worse. I think with the pitch clock coming in, I think that's inevitable. One thing I am in favour of is automated umpires after the display by umpires this past season. The amount of blown calls at the major league level, I think, is an absolute disgrace.
I don't know if they can do a whole lot. I mean, I have to admit, I do like the human element of it. So it's always been part of the game. So I understand it. But now with replay, it really kind of shows. And I still think they umpire at like a 96% level. So that's still pretty good. You're never going to really hit that 100% level.
Quite possibly, yeah. I might be being overly harsh on them due to certain things that didn't go my way this season. But that's another story.
Now, so I referenced it on my Bubba and Baseball account, and there was a blown call, and I believe it was a 1983 World Series versus it was the Royals and the Cardinals, and the umpire blew the call at first that should have given the Cardinals the win for the World Series, and it was terribly bad. At first base call extended the inning. They ended up tying and winning the game. And I think the Royals ended up winning that World Series because of it. But yeah, so it happens, and it just seems when it's at key times, it hurts that much more.
There was a Detroit Tiger pitcher who was on a perfect game until the final out as well, wasn't there, a few years back? And then the umpire at first blew the call and called the runner safe. And I remember the umpire was actually in tears after the game, talking to the media and saying, "Hey, I fucked up. It was my fault, and I'm very sorry."
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who that is. I want to say it was Armando Benitez, but I know that's not right.
Was it Armando Galarraga?
That's who it was, Armando Galarraga. I believe so, yeah.
I remember seeing highlights of that game afterwards and just thinking, wow. I mean...
and a perfect game, I think there's only been 30. Maybe it's like 50, but there's not a lot. I mean, there's obviously more no-hitters.
Yeah.
But yeah. Because I'm actually listening to this new podcast, and I'll give them a shout out. Two Strike Noise. They're kind of baseball historians, and they were talking about how they've seen combined 5 perfect games. So between the two of the guys, they've accounted for 1/6 of all perfect games played done.
That's insane, isn't it? Even when you look back to the dead ball era, and it was still very rare that you would see a perfect game.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, and then you look at a guy like Justin Verlander, who's thrown so many no-hitters. You look at a guy like Nolan Ryan, who's threw a record number of no-hitters.
Yeah, but strike out 18 1.
Yeah,
when we started out. So.
It's pretty special. Let's move on then. So, Jason, we are joined by a couple of old teammates of yours, Ren Quantrill and Ruari Dunn of the Edinburgh Cannons.
Yeah, I've played with them for many years now, so I'm excited to have them on. And the first Edinburgh-based podcast we've had this
Indeed
season.
It is. You guys are finally getting a piece of the action here. Guys, would you like to introduce yourselves individually?
Yep, no worries. I'm Rudan, the current manager of the Cannons and longest tenured player in Edinburgh, I believe, at the moment still as well, ever since Jason stepped down.
And hi, yeah, I'm Ren Quantrill. Play with Ruari on the Cannons, playing first base, centre field, and pitching a bit this season. I've been playing for 4 or 5 seasons now.
Right. So, Ruari, we were actually discussing this in the intro. Now that Gio has stepped down, that makes you the longest tenured player in Scotland.
Oh, does it? I didn't know if anyone in Glasgow might have one-up me. Because it depends, because I think there's probably 1 or 2 folk who started playing juniors or anything at a younger age.
Yeah, maybe that might be Jason.
Yeah, well, I was wondering. I mean, I don't know how old Jason is now, but he seems to have been around forever, like myself as well.
Yeah. I think we'll have to figure that out one day to figure out who's been around longer. Yeah. But yeah, at your 16 years, it would be right.
Yeah, I know. I got my 10 and 5 rights a while ago, so no one can trade me away now, which is good.
But do you want to be traded? That's the important thing. Do you want to be traded? Who are we going to trade you to?
Oh, no. Not with the great resurgent Cannons that we are now.
Yeah, don't be encouraged.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about the 2019 season. Obviously, the 2018 season did not go well at all. Can you let the listeners know what exactly happened? Because I know I was part of the reason that the season didn't go so well. But
well, I wouldn't brag too hard, Jason. I mean, the season before that didn't go very well either. Pretty much the 2018 season. It was a transitional year. We lost quite a lot of players between 2017 and 2018, and especially quite a lot of the seasoned ringer / experienced players were gone. So we were kind of left to, it wasn't so much a rookie team, but to find out what team we were in the year by playing a lot of baseball and unfortunately losing a lot of baseball. And that
must have been tough. I would say that must have been tough because you lost myself, you lost Roger.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think who else was there. You lost
Dan.
100 years experience on that
team.
Well,
I mean, we pretty much lost. We lost our 3, 4, 5 hitters, our starting pitchers, our catcher, and our center fielder. So it's kind of everything up the middle that does the important things left in 1 year, unexpectedly as well. But
Gilberto, we lost.
We lost Gilberto. I mean, I don't know what's. We lost Gilberto as well. I mean, if I went through and looked at it, there's so many folk that have been lost, and that, or people that they say they'll be along sometime soon, and then you never hear from them for a while, which is fair enough. People have other commitments.
Well, 16 years of Scottish baseball, you'll definitely almost seen that.
I think. I mean, I'm sure there's probably going to be something. Start of next season, I'll be like, well, I've never seen that before. Well done.
And Ren, you were on the team last year. What were your thoughts about the season?
I was sadly. I didn't leave, but I left for the majority of the summer, which probably didn't help matters either. But I know I left, and it was all. I mean, we weren't playing terribly well, and obviously it's not impossible to have fun when you aren't winning, but it makes it a lot harder. And I think when I came back, I was in the US for 3 months. And when I came back in the beginning of September, there were a lot of new guys on the team who were kind of fresh and ready to give it a good go. And I don't think they were too demoralized by the fact that we weren't winning at the moment, and they understood the process that we were going to have to go through to get better. And I think this season's been just pretty great, really. Whilst we didn't necessarily win, we won a lot more. And I think it was just a really fun environment to be around. And so you can see that I think no one expected the transition given everyone that we did lose in 2018. But I don't think anyone expected that it was going to all of a sudden be back to some great days straight away. But this season's been a lot better for sure. And you can see that process moving on now.
So let's talk about this season. So what was the keys to the season? I mean, you guys got off to a hot start. You got a great import. Let me talk about that.
We'd be lying if we didn't say that our starting pitching wasn't the biggest difference maker. having a great import in Sam Davidson as a starting pitcher and being pretty much just a lights out level. Like I said, I've been around for a while, and he's probably the highest level of pitcher I've seen in the Scottish League. I'm trying to think who I might compare his pitching to. So that was a big help knowing that, the pitching's taken care of. All we have to worry about is the hitting and maybe catching one if he doesn't strike everyone out.
No, I mean, that's it. I'm trying to think what was his name from the Devils that played for 1 year as well.
How far back are you going now? Because the closest one I can think of is Mike Smith.
No, not that.
I know, but that's the closest one that I could think of off the top of my head was Mike Smith for us back in the first years of the Cannons. Who had the same kind of thing where he threw hard and it was harder than a lot of folk had ever seen before.
No, I'm trying to think. He was the guy that learned the knuckleball on the fly.
You're thinking of Ben, I think it was, yeah.
Ben Pope. Ben Pope was the other person that you could clearly see was a level above everyone else. So
it was definitely, there was college experience from the States there, and but the good thing about Sam in that level above, it wasn't just that his skills were a level above, but he brought that higher mentality towards the preparation for the game, and that's rubbed off on the whole team because he wasn't just a great pitcher, but he has helped so many people improve, and he's helped in coaching and helped in mentality and being a team and helping everyone out. And it's sad that we lost him. He went back home to the States, but that mentality that he brought to the team just in that short time, that's something that is going to stick around and is going to help everyone work as a team and get better in the next couple of years.
Now we'll touch Sam's injury later in the podcast, obviously, because that was a big blow for him. But Ren, what did you get from him? I know I came to training a few times and I saw him working with you. What did you take with him? Especially I saw when you were working with him. He was working with you on pitching.
Yeah, no, it was just fantastic, really having him around to just kind of pick his brain. Really, every time he was down at training, whether that be like pitching mechanics itself, which we did a lot of work on, but also just kind of general preparation for the game. And I think like just going on from what Ruari was just saying, like having Sam Moran give a lot of people in the team a real vision really of what was the kind of level you could get to. And I think that's so as much as just people having fun and playing a bit, people really wanted to get better because they could visualize what they could hopefully one day achieve. And I think so a combination of him like be willing to help people get better, but also being that talent. Really pretty much it was just fun. I think it really just turned a lot of heads really. But yeah, certainly on a personal level, he spent a lot of time with me working on various bits and bobs pitching wise for sure, and could be really picked it apart, and there's a lot of stuff to work on, which is great.
Good. So going into the season, you guys did not win a game the previous season. What were you guys' thoughts about how the team was looking before game one?
Well, for myself, because unfortunately I missed the last couple of weeks at the end of the season beforehand, so I hadn't really met Sam. I hadn't really seen Sam in action, so to speak, until the winter training. But I'd heard tell that, there's this really good pitchers coming down. And I'd only just got to meet a few other guys that joined towards the end, like Gio, Miguel, Sam, Brian, this new kind of core that we have that all joined around the same time in that year. So, I mean, I was optimistic because I knew that we had a good team and we had the basis of a good team, but I was very much in a, I don't quite know, these people, what their role is, how they work together, what it could be. So I was, but thankfully, these are all people that came to the training sessions before the game. So I kind of knew that these are people that were going to put the work in to play the game well. And so I kind of knew that with a good pitcher on the mound, all we had to worry about, like I said earlier, was just the hitting and make sure that we actually put some runs on the board, because as long as we hit, we were guaranteed to at least hold this terrible. I can't remember who we opened the season against. I want to say it was the Comets, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. As long as we held them to, a couple of runs, we'd have that in the bag. So it was a lot of optimism. Probably more optimism than I actually had for the past couple of years, because even the years before that, the 2017-2016 season, when you were still around, Jason, there was still that kind of, uncertainty of how a game might go because you didn't quite know who was going to turn up.
Yes, the usual problem with Scottish baseball is like, well, we've got 9 guys. We don't know which 9 guys. We'll figure it out when we get in the field.
Exactly. But, you know, knowing that something like that, that whole side of the game was locked down, taken care of, that made it a lot easier to manage and to focus more on the game than to worry about every little detail possibly falling apart or anything that might go wrong.
And so how did you find this? This is your second year managing
or
co-managing.
It was, I mean, I'm still adjusting to it because the year before it was very much reluctant managing. It was kind of a co-management setup, but my co-manager unfortunately didn't appear much, so I ended up having to do it more through reluctance. So knowing that this year it was going to be managing fully, I was a lot more prepared and ready for it. But it's that side of the game that I was still very reluctant to. It actually took folk taking me aside, just going. It was actually, I think it was Josef, one of our umpires from Hungary. He took me aside and he said to me very directly, if you ask the bench to do something or to help out something, nobody will do it because they will all look at each other. If you ask one person with a name and you look at them, they will go and do that. So do not be afraid to assert and have one person, and then you will get the confidence and not worry about making the wrong decision because you at least have made a decision rather than just saying something into the air and hoping that someone else gets involved in it, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. I know exactly where you're coming from there, where, you have to tell people you need to do this and they'll do it. But yeah, you look at everyone, they look at you, you're speaking German or something. So, no. Well, how do you guys think the season went for you? Well, I mean, it got off to a pretty good start. You had Sam pitching. You had a lot of new blood in there, and it progressed.
Well, I'll let Ren answer one first, but
yeah, I think it was obviously it was a lot of fun to start winning some games, and I think there was definitely some competitiveness, especially when we faced up against Luke for the Galaxy, when it had this kind of feeling of a real pitcher's duel. And so when you did take the extra base or score runs or in any kind of situation where you're providing good offense, it felt valuable, which is not, I've never taken part in a game where that's the case, but it really felt more important in these kind of games. So that was a lot of fun. But then I think there was, once we kind of caught wind that Sam might be leaving, it was quite difficult to go between. It was trying not to just feel like we can rely on Sam and don't. It was trying to make sure that everyone, still a job, knew there's still a job to do themselves. And so when he did leave, it wasn't going to be a drastic drop off. And it wasn't. I think if you just look at the results, it looks maybe worse than it was. But I think there's a lot of going into next season without Sam. I think we're aware now that we are competent of pulling off results ourselves without feeling like Sam was a one-man team. Because I mean, he was great, but I don't think he was the be-all and end-all of what we had. I think there's a lot of other guys in the team that really can win us some games. So no, it was a lot of fun both with we were still able to have fun without Sam, but even without the results, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a team game. With Sam, it's great. We have him, we don't have him. You just have to kind of make do with what you do, and you still want to go out there and win. So I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, for me, it was a year of two halves. Obviously, there was the early half when we seemed to be on a streak, on a roll, going well, and then that last half, it kind of petered out as. Like I said, we lost our starting pitcher, but we also lost quite a lot of players. We lost Ren for a while. We lost myself for a while. We lost Gio, our star third baseman, for a while. And it struggled. We didn't so much struggle towards the end, but I think all of our games, I think we only there was only 2 games that we won by mercy rule. We seem to only have tight games. We always seem to have just enough hitting. Oh, and it was especially the games towards the end of August. I mean, the 3 games we played in the end of August against the Express, they were all tight games. It was still, it was a run here, there. It was close. We're always just seemed to be that was just that little slight. We either won and it was enough, or we just lost and we felt like it was so close. But it meant that every game felt like a battle. Every game. That's some of the tensest games I've played in have been this year, because everything felt like it was always very close, and it could just be, one booted ball in the outfield would be the difference, and everyone was very aware of that.
But it sounds like there was a lot more close games this year. I mean, there's obviously always going to be blowouts, but was that different for you? I mean, you mentioned that was nail biting like that there, but I mean, has the level of Scottish baseball risen enough now that the games are pretty competitive, no matter who you're playing?
I think the level's risen, but I think it's all the teams are. It's so evenly matched. I mean, yes, there wasn't that. There's the bottom and the very top. There's still the disparity, but in the middle, I think until the last week, there was almost every team apart from the Oilers was still, capable of a winning record or at least qualifying for the postseason, which is unheard of. It was so close in that middle of everyone. I think a lot of teams ended up pretty much around about 500, which shows how close it all was.
I remember it was close because we obviously covered the scores here on the podcast, and we were trying to figure out who was going to be in that third and fourth spot, because I think last year in the Caledonian Cup, you got 6 teams where everyone got invited, where this year they took the top 4. So I know there was like some crazy tiebreakers to make sure the Giants got in if it was happening.
It was great. I was because the Cannons weren't playing the last weekend of the season, we were very much sitting by the phone waiting to hear what was going to happen. And I think it was up in Aberdeen between the Express.
Yeah, I remember very well. Yeah.
But the week before that, I was on holiday in the Highlands, and so every time I got signal, there was about 6 or 7 messages on the kind of the Scottish managers group chat of every possible tiebreak situation. So every time I might, get on a train to somewhere, my phone suddenly spring to life with all these messages of everyone trying to figure out what the run differential might be of this here and who has home fields. It wasn't very relaxing for a holiday, I'll tell you that much.
After a month for working the festival, I can't imagine it would be very. And of course, you have John, who was the other end of this, whose last game of the season did not go well.
That's correct. Yeah, the Comets' last game of the season. We had a chance to make it until the last weekend, but results didn't really go our way in Edinburgh. We played the Giants or elsewhere, and we ended up just narrowly missing out on the post-season tournament.
But it happens. I mean, like I said, this is the first year they only had 4 teams. I think it made it exciting. I think that was probably one of the things that people really got excited about, was the fact like we're battling for that third and fourth spot there, and it seemed like it went down to the wire, and I think that was really cool.
Well, it's like we talked about on the last episode, Jason. It makes it more interesting when you have a situation like the one we had this year with the title. The Galaxy kind of ran away with it. Eventually, like the guys have said, Sam was very dominant in the first half of the season. And obviously, like Ruari said, it was a season of 2 halves for those guys. The Galaxy, obviously, they didn't run into that problem at all. And they kind of ended up winning it quite comfortably again. So I think, like we talked about in the last episode, the kind of battle for the top 4, it makes it more interesting for the rest of the teams in situations like that. And it pushes you a bit more than it would normally. And it's not just about having fun and winding down your games anymore. It's about trying to earn something.
Absolutely. It definitely makes the last weekend a lot more interesting when you're the game matters a lot more when it's the difference between getting up at 6 a.m. to go to Aberdeen or getting a home game as well.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly right. And there's things like that come into play now, which I think is a testament to the growing structure of the league as well. The league is becoming more and more organised, and I think it makes for a more exciting game. It's like you guys have said as well, it makes for more close games, it makes for better quality of baseball, and it makes for more interesting structure to the season.
All right, well, since we've talked about Sam a few times, why don't you guys explain exactly what happened to Sam? And was either one of you guys there when it happened?
Leader, and I wasn't there, unfortunately, on the day
I wasn't there either.
Yes, we weren't.
So sorry, maybe not the best people to have on for that, but no, it was. I heard. I mean, it seemed graphic enough from what I managed to pick up from others who were there.
It was I'll take the picture. It was a home game in Edinburgh in August. It was Sam's last game before Sam went off to. He is now
Princeton.
Thank you. I was about to say Rutgers, but it's Princeton. That would have got a lot of pelters. So he was moving back to New Jersey to do his fellowship at Princeton. So he knew this was his last game, and it was against the Devils. It was a double header in Edinburgh. He threw a pitch, and everyone heard a very loud pop at the field. And I believe from memory that he had snapped his I can't remember the name of the bone it was, but it's your upper arm.
It's humerus, is it?
Is it humerus?
It was humerus.
So he'd snapped his humerus on a pitch, which I felt really bad because when he said to me that he was going home just a month or two beforehand, I'd said, well, I'm going to throw you out there every day and just get as much out your arm as I can before it falls off. So I felt kind of guilty as a manager.
So you're responsible for him losing his arm.
I don't want to say I am because, I mean, I tried to bring in relief, but we had these games which were too close to even go to the bullpen.
After that happened, guys, did either of you, or did the guys in general, did you visit with or have any contact with Sam after the injury?
I did. I was working that day, unfortunately. Being August, I work in the theatre in Edinburgh, so I'm never around in August. So I'm always working. But I was, I'd actually had dinner with Sam the Monday before that. Me and my girlfriend and Sam and his partner, Alexis. We'd had dinner to say goodbye to them, knowing it was the only day we'd get a chance to. And so I was straight on the phone to Alexis, his partner, to make sure that, A, what's happening? Is everything all right? I knew they'd be taken to the Royal Infirmary in Edinburgh, which is not far from where I live and where my partner was staying that night. So I'd said, if you need to crash somewhere, give us a call, free bed. If you need to, Sam's being kept in, keep me informed. I understand a lot of members of the team were offering to, come and pick them up and drive them back to where they were staying if they needed to, because they were leaving. They were getting on a plane 48 hours after that. Like, they had packed up their flat, they had everything in boxes, and they were supposed to be on a plane on the Tuesday after that happened.
Yeah, I knew it was quite quick. I knew they were out. It was really his last hurrah.
The last thing. So, I mean, I don't know if any of the team went to visit in hospital. I think it was kind of hard to go. It's kind of hard to do visiting in the A&E on a Sunday. And I know that just from the team group chat, there was invitations and offers of helping them move, helping get them to the airport, whatever they needed in the next 48 hours to help them out. Because obviously, Sam had shattered his right arm and was mostly incapacitated and kind of out of it on painkillers as well to a degree. So, yeah.
Ren, talk me through how it felt to play the following game then after Sam's injury. What were the kind of was there anything in the back of you guys' head that kind of I hesitate to use the term safety net, but the guy who had been kind of the core of the team, regardless of whether it was his last game anyway, but was there any kind of psychological impact with the way that it ended for Sam on you guys?
So sadly, that was actually the first game that I was missing. I was away for the month of August, as well as Ruari, but I was away traveling with a friend. So I gathered bits and bobs from the group chat as well, and I think they were planning on going for drinks that evening, and then managed to reschedule that, I think, before they left. But I think so. Whilst it was going to be a sad day anyway, it kind of got a bit overshadowed with, obviously far more dramatic emotion. But I think there was a lot of people then. Sam did his part as well as wanting to. I think the whole team then really, it almost bonded us to kind of come together and try and win more and to kind of keep it going. We knew it was going to be hard without him, but I think it was almost like, let's do it, try and keep the season going for us. Especially given that he had literally given his arm. for the team. So I think it almost I think I mean I don't want to say it was. I think it almost motivated us more. I mean, when I came back, I definitely saw that kind of feeling within the team that we wanted to win more for him, and for that reason, there's still now what we've been finished playing for got to be at least a month, and he has really said at the beginning, like just putting on a backpack. So I think the kind of repercussions for him. We all were aware of how much that was going to set him back, especially moving back over to the States. So I think it kind of probably motivated the team a lot more to try and get some wins than it would have otherwise.
And what's the update on Sam now? Is he okay?
Last I heard, he's grand. He's at the cast. He's obviously it's atrophied from misuse so heavily, so he's got a lot of physio work and a lot of just work to kind of build back up muscle mass, so he's got regular use of his right arm. But he's very active still on the group chat, letting us know how things are going. He's desperately trying to find some cheap flight deals to make it for the awards ceremony next weekend. I don't know, for some reason he thinks he might be in line for an award. I don't know why.
On that note, Ruari, I don't suppose there's any chance you might give us a sort of hint as to who some of your award winners might be on the team.
Hence, well, I mean, the only awards that we're doing as a Canon Soul one would be Hitter of the Year, Pitcher of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and then Rookie of the Year. Just to keep things simple. I mean, the Pitcher of the Year is kind of an obvious one. But I'm actually going to announce it within the team in a couple of weeks, possibly even at the award ceremony. So I don't want to give it away officially.
Yep. No, that's fair. We were wondering if that was going to be the case or not. So if you guys are going to announce it at the awards or whatnot. But it was one of the things we definitely to discuss, and we can get you back on for the awards. I'm guessing the rest of the teams will be doing the same thing, and you can give us a quick rundown on everyone who won everything.
Yep.
So, Ruari, I want to quickly ask you a couple of questions. One about kind of the past and one more toward the future. Firstly, to go back, when you took over as manager from Jason at the beginning of the 2018 season, obviously we've gone over the hurdles that you guys faced, the very challenging season that you guys had last year, and I know how that feels given that the Comets had quite a few last place finishes in a row. It can be a lot of pressure. It can be very intense at times. Was there any discussion at any point, given how much of the core of your club was ripped out, of the Cannons ever disbanding or assimilating into any of the other teams?
I'd be lying if I said the idea wasn't floated, and this was mainly midway through last season when it wasn't so much the results, but it was the lack of players. It was always seemed to be a struggle to even get 9 people due to people. Like I said, we lost players. People were away for long stretches of time. I myself, I'm always away during August because I have to work almost every day in August, unfortunately. And it was kind of, while I was away, I think this idea had been, no, it was before I left actually, sorry, this idea had been floated. And I had kind of said, the last thing I want to do is disband a team because we'll never get a team back together. And it's give us time, give us the end of the season. Let's look back at this in the winter because, you say we're struggling to make players. The results don't bother me. I mean, as much as I might moan about it, I don't mind giving up 30-odd runs to the Comets. It's more fun than not playing baseball.
Because you have done that pitching before.
I have done that, yes, thank you.
Oh, I think I remember that happening.
I do, believe it or not.
To be fair, I had to go to the hospital, so you had to go jump in an emergency. So you had about, an hour's notice to figure out who was pitching that game?
Yeah, I had about an hour's notice to figure out what a strike zone was, and I'm still struggling to figure it out. But no, there was some discussion, and I kind of I not so much stamped and moaned and put my foot down, but I kind of said, give us the time. And then like I said, we had this influx of players in August. Gio, Miguel, Martin, Brian, Sam. I'm trying to think if I've forgotten anyone who joined about that time. I'm very sorry if I have. But we had this influx of players who have become some of the most regular players now, and they're there every game they can be. They're there for all the training sessions. And that's my kind of like, I think of it, if you're only missing one or two people, it can take not that much time for there suddenly to be 4 or 5 people. So now the Cannons, actually in Edinburgh, are looking like they have the biggest roster. And it's not like we've added anyone this year. It's just that we are returning so many people now from last year, and people came back who had been away for a bit. And so, I'm glad that that conversation kind of went away. And I'm because I would have hated to have lost a whole Edinburgh team and so much possibility. Because for what we've been this year as a team and everyone together, if that hadn't been at all, if we'd been binned and pulled from the league and everyone had been spread out, it would have been it wouldn't have been the same year, because this year's been absolutely enjoyable. From having such a great team aesthetic and team morale, it's been night and day.
So yeah, you've managed to kind of bring the Cannons back together. You've pieced them together using kind of older pieces and obviously some very impactful new pieces. With that having been done this year in consolidating, you guys place back kind of toward the middle and for a time toward the top of the table. What do you see as the next necessary step to taking the Cannons back to what they were a few years back?
Well, I mean, the Cannons, the first couple of years when we were top of the league, the first 3 years of the Scottish League, to take the Cannons back to that, I think it's just time. We have a core group. We have, and some of those members of that group have only been playing now for maybe a year and a half, and they're still learning as they go. And that's the fact that we finished as high up as we did this year was an amazing turnaround. And I think we're only just getting started, and there's going to be so much growth in some of the players we do have. And I can't wait to see where we take it from here.
Excellent. Ren, for you, a playing specific question. Did you coming into the 2019 season set yourself any personal goals? And what would be your assessment of your personal performance over the year?
I think at the beginning of the season, it's been a really exciting season from a team standpoint, but and a national standpoint of what we've done down in Kent and then hosting the tournament up here as well. But I think personally, back in February or whatever, whenever we started winter training, I don't think I could ever really seen the season going the way it has done. And it's opened my eyes a lot more to possibilities I didn't even know existed. So I think I'm really happy with the way it's gone, and I've been able to play a lot more baseball than I thought I was going to be able to, which is, something obviously I wouldn't be playing. I love it. I wouldn't be playing baseball if I didn't enjoy that. So I think the exposure to more opportunities has been a lot of fun, and then I've been just really grateful, really, for opportunities to go down south and play, and especially over the summer. When I was in Edinburgh, there was a lot of times when with Adam Murphy, who has just gone back to Australia, but almost daily we were down at our field together training. So I think I'm really grateful for the opportunities, but also the people that have helped me get there. And I think on the field, it's reflected in some parts, but I think there's more that I can look forward into the years ahead and hope that it gets better. And with devoting time to it, I can only hope it will.
So before we get off the subject, Ren, I was going to ask you now, you're playing, are you playing with the Great Britain national team, the under 21s, or you're training with them? What's the story behind that?
So I went down for they were hosting some trials down for the under 23 national team down in March. So I went down for those. and I couldn't really have been happy with how they went. It went really well for me, and it was a lot of fun to meet the guys down there. And from there, they invited me onto the expanded roster for the European Championships that were being held in the kind of early to mid August. I think I'm right in saying, yeah. And so there were a couple of other training sessions that I went down for, which led to quite a few rather hectic weekends, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. I was driving down on Fridays, training with them on Saturdays, driving back Saturday night, and then we had a Cannons game a couple of weekends on the Sunday as well. So it was a real adventure, really. That's what I was really hinting at with just opportunities. I didn't even know there was a national team set up back in the beginning of the year. And I didn't make the team for this summer, but I'm still in contact with the coaches and all of the guys on there. It's just awesome to see there's so much baseball in the UK. I assumed there would be some down in England as well, but not to the extent that there is. So I think that, as well as the London series, it's just been a really, really cool season to see how expanded really baseball is and where it's going. I think with like the way that Scotland, we've gone down as the Team Scotland to Kent at the beginning of the summer, and then that really kind of set the precedent for the way forward, I think. And I think that's something that, from what I hear, is really what we're wanting to carry on. And so from a personal, then team and national standpoint, I think all three of those things this season have really progressed. So it's just a really exciting time, really.
And Ruari, what about you? Did you have any goals yet set up for the season? You know, stay healthy, lead the league in steals.
Well, I keep waiting for the year that my wheels finally fall off. The same goal as every year: hit a home run. This year due to the position being in flux the past year or two, I decided to pretty much take up catching on the fly, kind of thinking along the lines of, I will happily play anywhere. My favorite position is second base, which is manned by a lot of people. So where can I be of most use? So I decided to go and catch as much as possible to try and at least put her as reliable a pair of hands back there as we can. So my thumb is only just healed from all of Sam's fastballs. They were fun. So no, my goal was not to hit that or whatever. It was just to be, do as well as I could, learning a new position on the fly. I mean, I caught for you, Jason, a couple of times out of necessity. But that's easy enough when you're floating in.
Exactly half a stamp speed, that's easy then.
I know, you're floating in what is not even his change-up. You got so much more time to think about where your feet could be, whereas it's a lot more reactionary when someone's throwing in the low 80s, or when you're trying to just chase however much movement Ren's getting on everything that day. No, I didn't have anything really as a personal goal. For me, I'm happy if I hit 300 and, at least don't. My biggest, I hate striking out. That's the one thing. I hate striking out, and I think I struck out the most this year. So that's probably the biggest disappointment for me.
Is that also fine with your goal of trying to hit a home run? You've taken the analytics approach where it's all or nothing.
Oh, yeah. I'm all about backspin. I'm really hoping next year we get some juiced balls so we can be in line with the major leagues.
You changed your swing plane completely this season, and it just took off.
I completely retooled it. I check swing like Votto now, but I hack like Justin Turner.
So yeah, I just had one more question for both guys. Actually, do you have a game of the season from a Cannons perspective?
And my other question was going to be what was one of your highlights. So if those can tie in, great. If not, let's hear what you guys have to say.
Okay.
And that can be team highlight or personal highlight, either way.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick a single game of the season. It's also my memory is terrible, so I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I'm on the same page.
Okay, well, let's go with personal highlight for yourself first, and then I'll give you guys a chance to think about what happened to me as a team one.
Probably the personal highlight for myself for the season would definitely be the Kent tournament. I know that's not very Cannons orientated, but to take a Scottish team down to England and come back as champions was definitely, that's not just a year highlight, that's a all-time career highlight for me.
And how'd you do in the tournament?
Personally, or the team?
Yeah.
Personally, I not bad. I think I got a couple of knocks. I mean, if anything, again, I was catching down in the tournament just because I had the most familiarity with Sam pitching. And that's definitely when I kind of went, I am not a very good catcher. This is hard. As I definitely, I injured my thumb a lot this season, spraining it a lot and never letting it heal. And so I definitely sprained it on the third pitch in the final. And after that, I was never fully able to actually catch anything square. So there was a lot of kind of dropped past balls. And I just very kind of rightly told Paul to sub me out because this is not going to work if I keep catching. So it was a bit demoralizing, but to go on and win the actual final, it's, like I said, that's something that I would have thought we'd be doing in the past 17 years ever. And, I wouldn't want to say happy to retire then because there's a lot more to go, but it was definitely a career highlight.
Cool. And what about you, Ren? You've had some time to think about this. You must be able to come up with something here.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think mine's also not terribly Cannons linked, but I think going down to the trials at Hearts was probably given I had absolutely no idea what to expect. I didn't know what kind of level. I was going off as much knowledge as any one of us up in Scotland who doesn't know what's going on down south, how we'd feel. And I really had no idea who plays down south, to what level, where they play or anything. So it was a huge adventure, really. And to meet Liam and Drew and the other guys in the under-23 team, and the training sessions that followed there, and being out, I played down at Farnham Park, which is, for a guy who's used to playing at Warriston, that was a pretty cool experience. To see actual dugouts, yeah, blew me away. It was really cool. And I think then I don't think you can really overlook the London series. I was lucky enough to be down for that, and I initially hadn't got tickets, and then decided I kind of bit the bullet and did it. And to see the way that it was organised and the way that the players, I was down there for the day on the Friday when the players were doing batting practice on the field and throwing a bit, and to see how excited they were as well that baseball was coming to the UK. I think that was awesome. So I think the kind of progress on a national scale with MLB was probably the coolest thing to witness, for sure.
So you were at the game. Did you have any luck getting any balls when you were out there?
I caught an Austin Romine BP homer in, I don't know, Saturday. I went to both of the games. I think it was the Sunday, which was pretty cool. But I think other than that, the games were pretty crazy. But it's, everyone pretty much showed up, and pitching wise, it wasn't necessarily amazing, but to see, both teams put up a fight, and it was just the things you might not necessarily see on TV, but you can appreciate when you're at the game. I think that was the kind of the exposure to that was, I think, the coolest thing.
Cool. I got one last question for you guys. I'll let you think about it, and I'll tell you what team I think it is. But if you could relate the Cannon season to an MLB team, which team would it be?
All right, give me a second.
I'll let you guys think about this. So I had a thought about this today, and I think your guys' season, the Seattle Mariners season.
I knew you were going to say Mariners.
Of course, to that hot. They cooled down and did all right, but that I was thinking. I was like, you guys set up really well, and then just cooled down in the middle. There.
I just said we resemble the Seattle Mariners because we swapped out 75% of our roster every year.
Well, I hope next
That's
season.
fair enough, too.
I hope next season we're a bit like the Washington Nationals this season. How about that?
Are you going to be the buzzsaw? Huh? Are you going to be Are you more Scherzer or are you going to be more Strasburg?
I mean, if I would take either, to be honest, Jason. I'm not going to lie. But I like watching them both was incredible, especially last week going into the World Series. I don't know. I mean, it's great to watch them both.
Did you guys stay up and watch any of the games? We touched it. So I was going to ask you if you guys actually watched much of the World Series.
No, unfortunately, it's on far too late, and I worked far too early. And since the Red Sox weren't there, no, I missed the entire World Series this year.
Yeah, I managed
Red,
to. Sorry?
You said you're a student. You got lots of free time.
I managed to catch most of it, actually. That's kind of a bit of a privilege of being a student. I think I can kind of drop in and out of it, and sleep patterns aren't too regular. So I managed to watch most of it. It was, pretty spectacular. I loved it.
Cool. Well, I think that's all for today, guys. I can't thank you enough for being on. It was great to finally get the first Edinburgh podcast in the belt there. You guys have been fantastic interviewees. It's been great. John, do you have anything to add?
Just thank you very much for coming, guys. I agree with Jason. It's been fantastic chatting. I hope you guys enjoy the award ceremony. Have a great winter, and all the best with the Cannons next season and into the future.
Look forward to seeing you next year. Next time we face the Comets.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, guys.
So John's retired. So he's not around anymore.
He'll be there. He'll be there.
Yes. We'll be down there interviewing him post game. We'll be in the showers with you guys. How'd that go?
So that was Ren and Ruari of the Edinburgh Cannons. It was absolutely fantastic having those guys on, and we want to once again thank them for taking the time out to speak to us this evening. Jason, let's wrap up the show. Why don't you tell us what you have today on your This Date in Baseball?
So this one's a bit interesting. It's a bit of Yankee trivia. Have you seen one?
I did, yeah. Something about a particular Yankee prospect who eventually.
So this guy. Yeah. So this was Bryn Taylor, and he was famous for holding out for the highest amount of money. There, he was a lefty, and he could throw some heat. And he went to the Yankees, I think, in '92. And he's famous because he got into a bar fight and missed the guy with his punch and hurt his shoulder and was never the same again. So unfortunately, at this time in 2012, he was arrested for selling crack and had been sentenced to jail. But it's the off season, so there's not a whole lot of stuff to talk about there. There's MVP awards and there's Cy Youngs, and what happened today was probably the most interesting thing that caught my attention there. But he's quite a famous draft pick who busted pretty badly.
Yeah, was that the year that the Yankees drafted Jeter?
No, I think Jeter was 93, 94. I'm trying to remember, but no, I think. I think Jeter was 93, because then 94 would have been Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah, and Jeter came into the league a year before Rodriguez, didn't he?
Yeah, because I remember 94 going, here's Alex Rodriguez going to the Mariners, playing for the Mariners at 18, and going, we're the same age. This guy's incredible.
And that he was, certainly 18. I don't think there's ever been an 18-year-old player quite like Alex Rodriguez in the league. Maybe Griffey Jr. would probably come the closest.
Griffey was up there. There was a guy that played for Texas named David Clyde, and it was in his contract in, I think it was 1971. He was the #1 draft pick, and he started a game 14 days after he graduated. So he was actually pitching for the Texas Rangers 14 days after he graduated high school.
That's insane. When I was 18, I had barely played rounders. Never mind being a major league baseball player at that age.
I think the youngest player was a 15-year-old named Joe Nuxhall, and he pitched and won a game at 15, and then had to go back to high school. And so,
in which decade did he pitch? In which decade did he pitch?
I want to say in the 40s. So this would have been like World War II time. So obviously there was a lot of people who had, signed up for the war there. So it was thinned out a bit. So, but even the fact that he was 15-year-olds and pitching in the majors is pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure. Where can people keep up with your This Day in Baseball History page?
You can find me on all social media accounts. I particularly use Instagram. That's the one I reach out the most. I'm on Facebook as well, but yeah, I tend to use Instagram most at Bubba on Baseball.
And of course, you can find the show on anchor.fm/caps and pipes, and also on whatever podcast provider you choose. We're pretty much on all of them these days. Just search Ball Caps and Bagpipes on your chosen streaming platform. Do you have any other links you want to plug?
Not at the moment. There's a couple podcasts that I've been kind of listening to, but I will do that on another show. We can discuss movies and podcasts and everything else baseball related.
That sounds good to me. You can hear me on both the NHC Music and NHC Gaming podcasts. Ditto, you can find them on pretty much all the usual streaming platforms. Just search NHC Music Podcast or NHC Gaming Podcast. Beyond that, let's wrap it up. Jason, we are going to try and get a word with someone from Aberdeen next time. Obviously, with the this year's annual baseball awards dinner taking place up in Aberdeen, and we're going to try and get a hold of the hosts and try and speak to them about their season and how things are developing up there. I think it was very much a tale of two cities in Aberdeen this year. The Oilers not having quite the season I'd imagine they would have wanted to have, whereas the Express in their first ever year, they made it all the way to the final of the Caledonia Cup, and they played some impressive baseball, as we've covered on the show. So it's going to be interesting to hopefully get a chat to them. John Tafe, as I've mentioned earlier, I'm hoping to get him on the show very soon as well to talk about the Galaxy's double trophy winning season. So that's kind of on the docket for the next wee while. For the time being, however, we want to thank you all for listening once again, and we'll see you next time.
All right, cheers, guys. Talk to you soon. See you soon.
Bye, Jason.
Bye.